Welcome back, party people. This is your introduction to oligopoly. Alright, so in this video you will learn how to tell if an industry is an oligopoly, as well as a duopoly. It's like an oligopoly, but with only two firms. All that and more in this video. Alright, so an oligopoly is an industry with a small number of producers. So again, remember, we're going through our four types of market structures. We dealt with perfect competition, which has many producers. We dealt with monopoly, which has one producer. And now oligopoly is somewhere in between. This is going to be on the monopoly side, though, where it's just a small number of producers. Economists use concentration ratios and the Herfindahl-Hirschman index to determine if an industry is an oligopoly. So the idea is economists are trying to figure out how concentrated, we're going to see concentration ratio on the next slide actually, but we want to see how much power do just a few firms have in an industry to tell whether it's an oligopoly or, let's see the next slide because it's going to say what I'm saying right now. Concentration ratio. All right, so this is the first way. Again, what we're looking at is we're trying to decide from the total percentage of industry sales, how many of them are accounted by the largest X number of firms. So that could be the largest 4 or 8 typically. So of the total industry, how much of their sales is accounted for by just the top 4 largest firms or the top 8 largest firms. And the larger this number is, the more concentrated it is, the more likely it is to be an oligopoly. So you have this scale. If you look at the picture, pure competition, you have so many firms that it's going to be very little concentration. So it's all the way to the left. Pure monopoly, it's 100% or close to 100%. So it's one single firm that dominates. Oligopoly is going to be closest to the monopoly, where again you have a few firms that are very large and dominate the industry. Herfindahl-Hirschman index, the purpose is again to do the same thing. The difference is that whereas the concentration ratio just figures out what's the percentage of the sales from that industry dominated by that number, the 4, the 8 largest, the Herfindahl-Hirschman index, it squares those numbers. The reason it does that is by squaring each market share, it produces much larger numbers, which essentially it gives greater weight to the industries that have more power or that are larger. So this does a better job of showing how much an industry is dominated by just a few large firms. All right, one of the other main characteristics of an oligopoly is interdependence. So the outcome or the profit of each firm depends on the actions of the other firms in the market. So remember, monopoly, they don't worry about this because there aren't other firms. Perfect competition, they don't worry about this because remember, they can increase their output by as much as they want and it doesn't change their profit because they take the price as given. But oligopolies, here we have a situation where there are multiple firms, so what one firm does will affect the profit and output of the other firms potentially. So we have this interdependence where they affect one another. And we'll get into that a lot more in the next couple of videos. Duopoly is an oligopoly consisting of only 2 firms. That's going to be the type of oligopoly we are going to make use of in this class. It makes the math easier, it makes everything a lot simpler, and it's based on the same assumptions. So we will typically deal with duopolies where 2 firms are thought to dominate the industry. A good example could be Coke and Pepsi. And obviously we all know which one is better, right? Right? This has been a LaMoney production.